kept the door secure, but would today's medical staff even recognize the condition? Had medicine advanced enough to even know what to do with a genetic condition so rare that it affects only 1 in 2,000 females around the world? Listen to this one mother's story of a daughter diagnosed with Turner syndrome, impacting lives globally with a nationally recognized nonprofit organization. Welcome to the Valarie Hurst Show. I'm your host. My guest today is Debbie Brown with Leaping Butterfly, and we are going to talk about a topic today that really just needs more awareness. Not a whole lot of people know about Turner syndrome, and so Debbie, can you tell us what Turner syndrome is and what some of the signs are?
Yes, it's basically a genetic condition that affects the chromosome makeup of a woman. As you know, women have 2 X chromosomes, and because of Turner syndrome, that second X is either broken or missing. There are 2 types of Turner syndrome. There's the classic, and then there's the mosaic. Classic would be no second X. The mosaic means that it's broken, it's random, here's a second X, but here's not a second X.
Okay.
And usually it's the mosaic, which is what my daughter had, that people just don't recognize as well. There's not that many outward symptoms. But the main thing is that they're small in stature. A lot of them don't grow past 4'6". But as children, they're way below the growth percentile.
Right.
So that should be a red flag, but a lot of doctors write it off that it's just maybe some, other relatives in the family that are short, that it might be something hereditary. But it's not, it's very serious. And it can be treated early in life, and if it waits till they're teenagers, then it can be a major problem. But basically, there can be heart conditions, kidney, thyroid, and then hearing. Of course, they're born without ovaries, basically, which not many people want to talk about or disclose. But just think about it, if your body didn't naturally produce hormones from birth. So they don't develop as quickly as other girls, of course, in their middle school years, and then they can't have children, and these poor women feel less than when they shouldn't.
Right. So what happens if you don't diagnose it or notice it in the beginning, or it doesn't get diagnosed in the beginning, and you don't find out until the teenage years? What happens?
Well, my daughter was 5 years old when she was diagnosed. She was going to kindergarten, had to take her child exam, get all of her shots and everything to start public school. And that's when a random clinic doctor walked in and said, has she ever had a chromosome test? And I said, well, she's had all kinds of things done in the past, and I'm like, no big deal, go ahead.
Right.
We want to make sure we're healthy. But now, 30 years later, almost 40 years later, they can tell prenatal that this daughter has Turner syndrome, because it's only for females.
Right. Okay. So when you were sitting in the doctor's office that day, and you received the news about Kelly's diagnosis, what was running through your mind as a mom?
Well, of course, I thought it was just a routine blood test, because we had it checked when she was 3 months old and just wrote it off that she was just going to be a petite person, which I've always wanted to be petite. So anyway, I just thought it was no big deal. So when the phone rang a week later, and the clinic said, the doctor would like to see you as soon as possible. I don't know of a mother in this world that likes to hear that, but I thought, it's okay. So I grabbed my purse, my keys, and ran out the door without telling my husband, telling friends, or anybody. I was ushered into the doctor's office. The lights weren't on for some reason. I remember it was just natural light coming through the window. And I was looking at her credentials, and I'm thinking, well, she must know what she's about to talk about. She came in, introduced herself. Of course, we were glad to see each other, but then she proceeded to give me the news. And she said, your daughter has a condition called Turner syndrome. I couldn't get past the word syndrome.
Right.
because I'm like, she doesn't have syndrome, because I associated it with Down syndrome. And I'm like, she's doing well in school. That can't be. And then as she began to talk about the kidneys, the heart, especially the infertility, I just completely zoned out.
Because you're thinking, well, she's not going to be able to have children?
Yes. And of course, you know, every mother's dream is to see their daughter be able to be happy and fulfilled in life. So I began to withdraw. And I've learned that's how I handle bad news. I've heard that you either pray, or you're paralyzed, or you panic. And I've learned that I just get paralyzed because I'm trying, so I just couldn't get past the word syndrome. And I was arguing within my mind, she doesn't have this. But as the news continued to come, I'm like, I've never heard of this. And my second thought was, what in the world are we going to do with this? I mean, does anybody know how to treat this? So early detection, though, is very important because the growth hormones, now they're giving it to them when they're preschoolers instead of waiting until they're teenagers. And they have a better chance looking like the rest of the children.
I see. I know things have just advanced so far.
I know, yes.
Did you ever feel like there was a time, Debbie, where as a mother, your time and energy went more to Kelly than the other children, and just the struggle with that?
Absolutely. Her brother, who was 1.5 years younger than her, there was just one other child, he had asthma. So I'm dealing with him as needed basis, but Kelly needed daily attention. There is a nonverbal learning disability that goes with that. So socially, my daughter either had all the attention of the room, I don't know where she got that, but she would get all the attention of the room, or she would withdraw and isolate herself. So there were a lot of emotional things. There were daily shots, which she was terrified of needles. So just doing this daily growth hormone shot took all hands on deck to get her to take the shot. I worried about her a lot. I tried not to be a helicopter mom. But again, because there was so much limited information about Turner syndrome, I did a lot of guessing. Because this is in the early 80s. There's no Google. There's no Facebook. There's no support groups. And I have never felt more alone in my whole life. It was very hard. And I had to trust the doctors that I took her to, and a lot of times I knew more than they did. I mean, they wouldn't admit it, but it's not something they deal with every day. So that was scary, because I'm like, really, you're depending on what I know about this? So I had to walk with a whole lot of faith and a lot of prayer that somehow her life would be everything that God intended for it to be.
Right. It's kind of like that mother's intuition.
Yes, I know.
You just know. And what about as far as you and Kelly's relationship? Do you find that sometimes there was this internal tug of war?
Any mother-daughter relationship is crazy to begin with, okay? Whether they have hormones or they don't have hormones, okay? There were some very stressful times where I did not understand her. I didn't understand her temper. I had no idea what she was going through with not getting the proper hormone therapy. I loved her with all of my heart. She loved me with all of her heart. But there were times of struggle. But in essence, I think they brought us closer together. But again, we were both walking in the dark, not knowing exactly what we would face in the future.
I see. Okay. Well, we're going to go to commercial break. Hold that thought. We'll be right back.
They're not into volume, they're into quality. And that's what really sold us on making that selection. That's what we found throughout the entire, process.
Having been in the pool industry for over 30 years in a major market, we have the big town experience, but the small town integrity.
You've earned your place in the sun with the Minion Pool Group.
Hi, I'm Kim bowling with the Mary and Frankie team at Keller Williams. I want to share with you today my listing in Teeswood. Teeswood is a prestigious gated community in the beautiful area of Conroe. Located near our 22,000-acre Lake Conroe, minutes to I-45, hospitals, shopping, and just 20 minutes to the Woodlands. Teeswood has very exquisite homes with curb appeal and elegance built within a backdrop of natural streams, private lakes, rolling hills, and mature pine trees. Featured today is 10286 Paradise Valley, a stunning custom home on 1.27 private wooded acres. This is a 4 to 5 bedroom home, study, game room, and 5.5 baths. Circle driveway with extended, widened driveway along the side of the home by the 3-car garage for additional parking. The grand covered patio has plenty of space for a custom pool, full outdoor California kitchen. Large back entertaining area has a wood ceiling over the slate patio along the back of the home. If you're thinking about Teeswood, talk to Kim. Teeswood listings can be viewed online. To see more high-quality photos, property details, and pricing, go to talktokim.com. To set your private showing for any Teeswood property, call me direct. I would love to show you around.
You know, I believe sometimes as mothers, we really grapple with the idea of where did I go wrong as a mother? Where did I fail as a parent? Where did I go wrong? Did you ever at one point in your life blame yourself or ask yourself that question?
Absolutely. One word. Even with my normal son, you know, but with Kelly, not having the information that I needed, not being able to be in a support group where I could bounce off, hey, does your daughter do this? Or and to realize that she was normal for a girl with Turner syndrome. If she had an outburst or crying episode, I never thought of it as maybe a hormone imbalance. I looked at it as something more serious, and it really wasn't. So everything was a big deal, you know. And then with the medical part of it, she hated to be examined. She hated shots. She hated, I mean, we would even drive from the north side of Houston all the way down to the medical center because that's where we had to go. We had to go 25, 30 miles. And there are mothers in this country that actually have to get on a plane and go to another city to get their daughter's help. Today there's clinics, and maybe we'll have another chance to talk about the clinics, kind of like Mayo Clinics for Turner syndrome. We didn't have that. So again, you know, the doctors were saying she needs this, she needs that, and I would be very skeptical, like, are you sure? I mean, how long have you tested this to make sure it didn't cause other problems later? So, yes, every day I worried sick about her. But we tried to just go on with life and just believe that one day it'll all work out. But what happened with that is we actually opened a closet and put her in there instead of really addressing what needs to be done. Now, when they're under their parents' care, they have to go to the doctor. But when they turn 18, they go to college, they're like, I am sick and tired of being sick and tired with shots, doctors, nurses, everybody probing on me. I'm not going to the doctor anymore. And that's usually when the whole heart issues, kidneys, and everything sneak up behind them, and it becomes very critical.
Okay, because of they're at that age, and that's when things start affecting them?
Well, because
physically,
if they don't get hormone therapy, they actually go through menopause in their 20s.
Wow.
Okay, their bodies are already breaking down in their 20s. Well, I didn't know any of that. So now that I know that, I still feel mother's guilt, like we shoulda, woulda, coulda. But we didn't have the information. That's probably why I'm so passionate today to get the message out there.
Yeah, I hear your passion.
I know.
It's wonderful.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't know about Turner syndrome until I met you. And so definitely there needs to be more awareness.
Yes.
And
And you know, 1 in every 2,000 females are born with Turner syndrome. If you take the population of the United States, that would be 80,000, which would be like one of our big football stadiums filled with girls and women with Turner syndrome. But here's the amazing thing, Valerie.
Okay.
Only 1% survive birth.
Wow.
99% don't even make it.
Wow.
The stats are 97% are miscarried, 1% are stillborn, and 1% are terminated. Because when they get the news prenatal, they're like, what are we dealing with? And so a lot of parents will make the decision to terminate. So you've got this 1% miracle butterfly, and we call them butterflies, that's their logo, and they survive.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Of course, it's global.
Right, right.
Mhm.
So, what did you learn from Kelly while she was here on this earth? What does she teach you?
Everything. She was a 5th grade teacher
Was
when
she
she
really?
passed away.
Okay.
So Kelly was teaching since the day she was born. She had colic for 3 months.
Oh, goodness.
She taught me how to survive without sleep. I mean, that's where it all started. But she taught me patience. Of course, children do. She taught me how to love unconditionally. She taught me how to forgive. She taught me how to laugh. She had an amazing talent to sing. So I would listen to her sing, and I would, why didn't I get that talent, you know? But God really gave her that gift.
Yeah.
He gave her the passion to be determined. I mean, she would dig her heels in the ground and not budge if she believed something was right, and actually had a double major in political science and communications.
Wow.
So this girl was ready to change the world.
She was.
She was, but unfortunately, she had a sudden heart condition that took her life at the age of 28.
So she really lived a good long life with you.
Yes.
Longer than what was anticipated, I guess.
Well, the average is around that age if they don't, because she was tired of going to the doctor. So like I said, we opened the closet, we put it in there, and we thought if we just ignore this long enough, it will go away. And it didn't. But now I'm meeting women at conferences and national conventions and everything, and they're in their 60s and 70s. Could have been prevented. Could have been. And that's my passion, is to educate the public so they can see if there's maybe a niece or cousin that may have, you know, just so people know what the signs are.
Sure.
And it's been a challenge to get the general public to really care, because if it's not in your family, who cares?
Right, right. So what is one funny moment you remember with Kelly?
She was so funny. She loved to dance, so a lot of times we would turn on the music and just go crazy in the living room, and we would just giggle and laugh so hard during those times. But I would say something that that really was so typical of her was a couple of months before she did pass away, we had a very serious thing with 2 dissections in our aorta, aneurysm, and a bicuspid valve.
Yes.
And here we are in ICU together. I'm looking at all the machines, they're beeping, and of course she hates needles. She's hooked up to all kinds of needles. She cannot move because the aneurysm may move. So she couldn't get out of bed for a week. Part of the thing was the labs. They had to, like every 3 hours, come in and draw blood for lab work. Hated needles. So every time the lab technician could come walking in with her little tray, I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Because it used to take 5 of us to hold her down to get it done. Well, here she is, 28 years old, in the bed, and the lab technician tries 3 times. And finally, she took her fist and her feet, and she stomped on the bed. She goes, that's it, get out, we're done. I said, Kelly, they gotta know, you know, but I just had to laugh because that was her. That's how she would be. Even though she was little, boy, was she in charge.
She was fiery, sounds like.
Oh yeah, no, nobody messes with Kelly.
No, she definitely would have changed the world for
She
sure.
did, and now that she's gone, she kind of is still.
Well, Debbie, thank you so much for sharing your
Thank
story
you.
about Kelly with us, and just making the public more aware about Turner syndrome.
Yes.
So I would just like to encourage you, if you or a loved one has Turner syndrome, has been diagnosed with it, you can reach out to Debbie
Yes.
with Leaping Butterfly by going to her website, leapingbutterfly.org. You can also purchase her book, Loving a Leaping Butterfly, her best-selling book, on Amazon, or you can go to her website and purchase it. Thank you for joining us today on the Valarie Hurst Show, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.